5 things you need to know before training your dog. Raven is my first dog, and when I got him, I knew nothing about training. I was lucky enough to stumble across Garrett Wing's channel, American Standard DIY Canine, and honestly, it changed everything for me. I ended up buying the entire course, and I'm so glad I did. Links are below, by the way, but what I've learned about dog training is something every first-time dog owner needs to know before diving in. So if you're new to this and have no idea what to expect, here are 5 things you must know before you start training your dog. Number 1, dog training has different levels. When you first get a puppy, your focus is on survival mode. Potty training, crate training if you choose to use one, dealing with puppy biting, and teaching basic manners. Then comes obedience training, things like sit down, stand, and leash walking. And trust me, leash walking is crucial. A dog that pulls on the leash, a nightmare. But here's what a lot of people don't realize. Your commands won't be truly reliable until you introduce leash pressure, e-collar training, or some form of negative reinforcement or positive punishment. You can choose to train with only treats, but outside of your apartment, with distractions, that training will likely fall apart. So before you start, understand that real-world reliability requires more than just rewards. Number 2. Training requires constant maintenance. This was a shocker for me. Just because your dog learns a command doesn't mean it lasts forever. You have to maintain it. Think of it like going to the gym. You don't work out once and stay fit forever. The same applies to dog training. If you teach doorway manners or recall but never refresh those commands, your dog will forget. And consistency, that's the hardest part. I struggle with it myself. For example, when I pick up Raven and put him down, he's supposed to go straight into heel position. But some days I don't enforce it, and that creates confusion. Dogs need black and white rules. If you are inconsistent, it's unfair to correct them later for not following through. So ask yourself, are you ready to be consistent? Because that's half of the battle. Number 3, corrections are really lifelong. If you do choose to use corrections, whether that's leash pressure and e-collar, you'll need to continue using them throughout your dog's life. This ties into the last point. If you want a reliable sit down or recall, corrections don't stop once the dog learns a command. They remain a part of maintaining that training. And here is the hard truth. If you feel bad about correcting your dog, you're going to struggle. If you're not mentally prepared for that, it might be better not to start at all. Number 4, dog training is more polarizing than politics. If you think politics is divisive, try talking about dog training. Seriously, it's worse. Everyone has an opinion, and whatever method you choose, someone will have a problem with it. It's just like raising kids. Whatever you decide, keep it to yourself. Arguing about training methods is pointless. That also applies to my comment section. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's totally fine. Just keep scrolling. Do what works for you and your dog. I'm here to share my experience, not to debate. But here's a real takeaway. Before you start training, do your research. Choosing the wrong trainer or online course can seriously mess up your dog in the long run. Puppies are the easiest to train, but even older dogs can learn. It's just harder. So if you're getting into training, make sure you know what you're doing before you start. And one more thing, your family has really to be on board. If they're not, your training will be a disaster. Just like with kids, if one person enforces the rules and another lets everything slide, your dog will get confused. Worse, they might actively undo your progress. For example, if you're training with food rewards and need your dog to be hungry for motivation, but someone in your house keeps sneaking them snacks because they feel bad, guess what? You're screwed. So before you start, get everyone in your household on the same page. If they're not willing to follow the training plan, you'll have bigger problems than just training. Number 5, sending your dog to a trainer won't save you. If you think sending your dog to a board and train program or hiring a professional trainer means you're off the hook, think again. I used to think you could just send your dog away and they'd come back perfectly trained like a finished product. Well, No. They might come back trained, but if you don't know how to maintain that training, it'll fall apart fast in less than 6 months, or even immediately if you don't follow through. Even if the trainer does everything right, and that's a big if, choosing the wrong trainer can seriously screw up your dog, you are the one who has to keep up the structure. That means sticking to the rules your trainer put in place. If you don't, you just wasted your money. And here's another thing. Make sure you're okay with the training methods being used. If your trainer uses leash pressure, sleep leads, prong collars, or e-collars, and you're not comfortable using them yourself, then don't even bother. Training isn't just about what happens during those few weeks with a professional. It's about what you do every single day after that. Oh, and by the way, even if you go the purely positive route, guess what? Your dog still needs to be hungry to work for food rewards. If your dog isn't food motivated, well, he'll need to skip a meal or two to become food motivated. And if that makes you or anyone in your household feel bad, too bad. So before you even start, sit down with your family and make sure everyone agrees on the rules. If they don't, you've got another problem to deal with before you even worry about training. And in the end, it's important to understand that not all training methods work for every dog. The type of dog you have, its breed, size, temperament will determine what works best. But that's a whole other topic, and we'll get into that in the next video. Oh yeah, and remember obviously to like, subscribe, give Raven a little scratch. See you in the next one.